Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to be working on another Boca Bearings upgrade. This is going to involve the Penn, well, it's hard to see because it's an older reel, but this is the Graphite Lever Senator GLS. And I believe this is the 45 version of the reel. This is a lever drag reel, and well, it's got some bearings in there that you can see. They're noisy, they're talking to you, they don't spin free and easy. And well, we've got a replacement set of bearings from Boca Bearing. And Boca Bearing, normally we're going to be doing a video that has the orange shielded hybrid ceramic bearings, but they also carry the stainless steel shielded ones. And well, in this case, that's what's available for this particular reel. I'm going to start by taking off the exterior pieces and parts. As we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you do like the videos, if you like to learn how to service and repair fishing reels, if you'd like to understand a little bit more about the fishing reels and how they were made, how they get serviced, and how you keep them running for a long time to come, then subscribing is your best way to know when I post what I'm posting on. Today it's a relatively vintage lever drag reel, and well, in this video you're going to learn about lever drag reels. You'll also see how we replace those bearings, and well, just get this reel running again in tip-top shape. Well, we've taken off the handle and the shroud. We've taken off the preset adjuster that holds the spool, and the preset adjuster on the lever allows you to adjust the tension on the spool shaft. That spool shaft is what you're going to be pulling in and out to gain tension on the drag set. So when you, in free spool, you release that, and it runs free. There is no real contact between the clutch and the drag washer. When you pull this in by moving your lever up and down, it's going to pull it in to contact the pressure plate and the drag washer. Well, I've just taken off the 3 pieces from the rim. We can remove this now. It's a good place to tell you to take pictures along the way. That way, when you're working on the reel, if you get stuck, you have a reference point. In this case, the reference point might be the video. Maybe you started and got lost along the way. That's okay. But best practice is to generally take the pictures along the way. You'll note the orientation, the order that you took them off in, and well, in some cases, if a piece or a part bounces somewhere, you'll also get to see where it bounced. So, okay, when I take my side plate screws off now, after that initial piece, I'm putting them all into a parts tray, and I keep them kind of segregated by the corners of the parts tray so that I know which assemblies belong to which. And I encourage you, before you start removing pieces and parts, to have a strategy about what you're going to do with the parts that you take off. On more than one occasion, maybe it seems like once a week, I get pieces in bags from folks that said, I took my reel apart and I can't remember how to put it back together again. Well, some of these tips along the way help. Another tip is to make sure that as you're removing all of the screws, that you make sure they're all the same size. In this case, they're not. Now, I've noted it, and I didn't call it out to you, but I will in a moment as soon as I get this plate off. There's one screw that's long that goes through the harness lug here. All right, here's your first look at what's going on inside a lever drag reel. And well, you can see this one needs some service. It's a little bit on the dirty side. And this is your spool assembly and your shaft and the back of your case. So there's nothing really going on in the case. The case is just an anchor for the shaft. The shaft itself is the axle that the spool is going to be spinning on. And here's where we're going to replace the backside bearing. We're going to just take this off. You want to remove the screws. There's 4 of them holding this collar in. And again, these are small screws, so pay attention to where you're putting them because they are easily knocked aside. And if they're knocked aside, sometimes they fall on the floor or other parts of your bench or desk, and next thing you know, you can't figure out quite where they belong. So Penn has got two sets of the same bearing in here, one front and back. And these are found in the older Penn reels, these big bearings. So if you're working on, say, a Penn spin fisher back in the day, these would be the bearings that you would find in them. They're monster bearings, for sure. But whether they're large bearings or small bearings, working with a company like Boca Bearing, you can generally get the bearing that you need. Some of them are available in the hybrid versions of them, and some of them are available just, well, as straight replacements. All right, there's a couple of ways you can go about trying to take this bearing out. We'll see if we can just kind of pull it out. I can find my little piece with the kind of crumpled back end. All right, well, you don't need to do much with that. The other side, or the other way to do it, is just come in underneath. And that'll get it out. There we go. All right, first thing we want to do is make sure we have the right bearing. I have no doubt that we do, but it doesn't hurt to pay attention and do that. Now these are shielded, steel shielded bearings. And they are the same size. Now if you're curious about what the size of your bearing is, Boca Bearings has a size chart right on their website, and you can take the bearing and just kind of match it up. Print out the size chart and just match your bearing to it. Now sometimes you'll find that the bearing's inner diameter, this one, matches a hole, but the outside doesn't match up with anything. So that'll tell you the inner diameter width, and just keep moving it along until you find the outer race, and that one will help you to fully define what it is. Bearings are measured on three sides. They're measured on the internal diameter, the outer diameter, and the width or height of that bearing. Okay, put the bearing back in. Go right through that shield again. Just go right back. The more parts that you can take off, put back together right away, the less worry you have about accumulating a big pile of parts on your table and then wondering where something get lost in the process. So we knew we had to replace that bearing. That's been done. So let's just put the screws right back on, finish this side of the assembly. There are 4 screws. Whenever I put a collar back on like this, it kind of reminds me of a compass. I like to do northeast, southwest. That keeps equal tension on the collar or on the side plate or whatever it is that you're kind of working on. And those of you that watch the channel know me and these little screws. Well, sometimes we take a little while to become friends. So if you have any questions on this reel or any reel while I'm kind of working around these, then I would encourage you to ask those questions in the comment section. I generally do try to reply to those questions in the mornings before I get into my shop. And those replies will, more times than not, kind of suffice in terms of what it is that you have the question about. Well, as you can see, I've moved over to a screw starter. This is a Klein Tools screw starter. I'm having troubles with even that right now. That slot is kind of a tough one there. That's all right. We'll just continue to do this for a moment. Eventually we'll get it. There we go. All right. All right, the 4 of those are on. We didn't mention much about the axle shaft here. Let's take a look at that for a moment. There are tension washers on here. There's 3 of them and a flat washer. Just make sure as you do that that you, if you did take them off, that you have the sequence going back in properly. I'm just going to grab a paper towel for a moment and a metal brush. That's going to help me clean off some of the stuff that's in that holder there. And we'll just lay that off to the side for a moment. We want to turn around to the other side and service the drag washer side of this. This is actually a compression held piece. You're going to see T, T, and T. I believe that stands for tab. Seems like there's always a tab under there. So what you want to do is just lift one side. Just get a small screwdriver. Lift the one side up. And generally you can just walk it around until this comes out. I'm getting enough room now. I can use a bigger screwdriver. Okay, I think we got it out now. There you go. All right. Underneath that we have our pressure plate. That would be this piece. We have a spring, and we have a second bearing underneath here. So we're going to show you those now. Again, you can do it the same way. You can try to pick it out, or sometimes with this it's just as easy to poke it out. And there are 2 of those. There's one on each side of the pressure plate. And I think if I get this right now, those are sitting in here. The ones with the yellow jacket. If you're thinking about upgrading your bearings, you probably need to take the reel off and apart ahead of time. That way you know what you have. Yep, there we go. Those are the right ones. A lot of times folks are just going to take a leap of faith that the bearings that are being supplied are the right ones, and then all of a sudden you find out it was kind of an oddball set, and well, it didn't work out for you. These, I believe, are the ceramics, so we don't need to do anything with that. Let's take our axle shaft now. We can bring that back in. This feels a little kind of sticky or gummy, so we're going to see if we can't clean that off for a moment. I'm just going to use a kitchen scrubby. That feels better. Okay, we're going to bring that in from the back side. Bring it up. Bring your spring. Again, that would have been a good place to take a picture. Now this drag washer is in excellent condition. There's no issues with that whatsoever. However, if you did find that there was some clogging going on there, this one's not going to be replaceable. You're going to have to replace the whole pressure plate. It's glued on. But a lot of times it's just grease that's trapping the drag washer. So just use a bristle brush and make sure that you can see the cross hatching on that plate. As we mentioned, the way that this works is that this axle shaft is going to pull, and that's going to compress this. Okay, with that in, then we can just work our way back on this. Generally speaking, if you get 2 of the tabs in, you kind of walk it around. Sometimes you need a little assist if you don't have the hand strength. And later versions of the reels, particularly the Penn lever drags, worked it over and put screws in instead of these tabs. But this is an older version. Alright, we're good. This is just a retention plate kind of a thing. Alright, that takes care of that piece. Over here on this side then we have the pinion gear. You want to do a cleaning on that. To do that, I'm going to use some penetrating oil. I'm going to use that bristle brush again. So if you have any questions about the size of the bearing or the application or hybrid versus steel versus whatever, you can always call Boca Bearings. They're a good group of folks. They've been in business over 30 years. They are very helpful. They know the resources. They know what they have. And they can help you out if you're trying to figure out what's the best approach to reconditioning your reel. They just don't just sell fishing reel bearings. Of course, that's what I use them for. They have all kinds of industrial bearings. They have bearings for the remote control cars, the whole bit. So maybe you're even thinking about reconditioning that. Go right ahead. They will help you. While the case is open, I want to take a moment to clean the inside crossbars. That is graphite. It shouldn't have corrosion on it. I believe the other side of the piece here is stainless. It is a nice reel. It was made in the US. And this is your one opportunity to get in there and clean it up. So I'm going to take the posts. We're going to look for those two studs and where they align in that carrier in the back. There we go. We're in. And look at the difference already. We haven't even spun this reel. This turns nice and free and easy. Probably should have taken a moment, see if I can't get that off. That's some salt residue. Guess I was so busy with the bearing itself I wasn't thinking about that. That's a little bit harder to get off. This one belongs in the back here. Be careful as you take things off, they tend to fall. I'm going to just try a little bit here. I'm not sure it's going to work at all. Generally, when you get that salt residue, you can clean it up to some extent, and then you're going to need an assist. In this case, I'm using that wire brush again. This is an aluminum spool. And what happens is wet line gets on there, and well, it just traps the salt inside, and then eventually it starts eating away at the coating. All right. So back to this one again, we do have that flat washer on here. We'll put the other retention washer back on the post. I'm going to bring this back in, seat that, put that pinion gear back on again. All right, we're back down to the drive on this one then, and the back bearing. We gotta answer that one. Now I don't recall if this comes through. I think it does. Let's take a shot at that first. How's that sound? We're going to remove the E-clip from this side and see if we can push the gear through. We can. And that makes cleaning this side up a whole lot easier. And it also makes removing that bearing a lot easier too. On this one, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that out. Poking it through because we have that plate behind. We'll see. Maybe we can work that plate out of there. No, that's kind of in. Let's see if we can grab it this way. Wow, this has been quite a project getting this bearing out, but I did. I actually resorted to an old school bearing puller that you work by grabbing the ears of a bottom of this, inserting a wedge, and kind of working it out. You can see there's a lot of rust and old dirt and debris in there. Let me show you the tool itself. This one's been around in a toolbox forever, but it has two little ears on it. They fit inside the bearing. And as you can see on the back end of this, they do come through the bottom. However, on this one, it was a very tight fit, and that was what was giving me the issues. Okay, that's out of there. Thought I would share that with you. I did take a break. Let's put that glove back on. Let's finish the service of this reel, give it a test, see how we did. All right, I want to spray this down, get that old debris out of there. There's a little bit of extra grease and dirt around that anti-reverse dog. This does not have an instant anti-reverse in it. This is an older school lever drag reel. It's been around for quite some time. So don't expect all the things that you might find in a more modern reel. And quite honestly, Penn's newer fathoms and squalls and things like that are more in tune with what you would expect from a lever drag today. But this is one of their early attempts at it. Okay, there's that replacement bearing. Let's make sure that we can get that in there. Well, that one certainly goes in a lot easier. And okay, let's just keep moving along then. We did remove that main gear to get at that assembly. It's time to do a little cleanup on that. This has got the anti-reverse click ratchet right on the back of it. I'll show you how to load that in a moment. This is a single drive, single gear. It's not a 2-speed. Clean that up, clean our shaft up. Do the same thing here we did with the others. We want to take a moment to spray this down. Again, it's been a while. We do know that it was running a little noisily. We do believe that, of course, that was the bearings, so we wanted to replace those. But there's also some dirt and debris. You can see it being flushed out here with that soft brush. The old part of that out of there. Clean towel. Clean that up. Let's re-grease. And then we can put this back together, the last little segments of this. See how we did. I expect a quieter reel with a lot more spool speed. And, well, enough of the effect of the service to make this reel last another lifetime, if you will. This comes up. So when you're going to put that in, start with that. And then to lock that in, generally, I'm going to slide a pick or something else underneath, pull the anti-reverse dog up while pushing in the other. Rotate it to make sure that you have that sound. Hold that firm while you bring your Teflon washer and your E-clip over to hold that in place. Now the E-clip, most of the time you can put that in by hand strength, which I did there. If you can't, don't worry, just use a little pliers or something to help you along. I'm going to put some oil onto this bearing. Again, it's a shielded bearing, but it's a metal shielded bearing. And now we can just put the side plate cover back on. We'll make sure you line the holes up. And then remember what we were doing here with the screws. The one long screw, which I didn't point out, there's 5 screws, 4 of them are the same length, one is longer. That's the one that goes through the harness lug here. So let's tie that one down first. And then let's come to one of these bottom holes here. And these are the shortest screws. There's actually 3 sizes of the screws. The shortest screws go on the bottom. You'll be able to see that because the threads are right there on the inside of the case. I'll do one of those on each side. And then we got the 2 medium-sized screws. They're going to go in the 2 remaining holes. All of this is happening under the preset travel ring. One of the things that's nice about this reel is that it has that brass trip ramp stationary. Why is that nice? Well, a lot of reels that's a movable piece, and you need to make adjustments in order to get into free spool. This one, it kind of locks where free spool is going to be in. We'll show you the back side of the lever, but it makes it a whole lot easier to set that one. I get reels in from time to time where the folks say, you know, I've been working on this, I just can't get it to go into free spool. And most of the time it's that there's a misalignment between the ramps and the inner part of the lever. Okay, hard to mess this up, but there is a side that does have the tapered pieces. If we remember, just checking my free spool here. If we remember, the 2 long ones come on the base of that arc. Folks ask me about using a mechanical screwdriver. I'm not crazy about that. Yeah, your hands do get tired by the time you're done with the service, but those mechanical screwdrivers have a lot of torque, and from time to time they can rip off a screw. If you got a screw started incorrectly, it can cross-strip the screw because of the power it's just providing. And generally, I recommend if you can do it by hand, do it by hand. If you need the assist from a power screwdriver, stop the screw short of being fully tightened. It's called proud. Stop it like here, where you have a little bit of a turn remaining, and finish that last part by hand. Okay, you'll see the ramps here. There's corresponding valleys here, and when the ramps and the valleys are merged together, that's when you wind up in your free spool. Then you'll see, beginning with that ramp, these raise up on both sides. That's what's pulling that spool forward, and that's how you're getting into your tensions. Okay, there was this piece that goes on top, and we have our pre-spools, our preset adjuster. We'll show you how to adjust that in a moment. We did remove the shield so that we could get the gear out, so let's make sure that shield goes back on. The handle is next. There is an oil port on the handle. Go ahead and use that. You can also put a little drop of oil around the back. As I mentioned, it's a nice, good-looking reel. It just had some issues with the bearings. So we should have, with those new bearings, we should have been able to restore the performance of this reel to a like new condition. Those gears were in excellent condition. The drag washer was in excellent condition. So what we really had to do is take care of those noisy bearings. I think we did that. You want to align the scallop in your handle screw, the hole, and then get your tie-down screw. And this is the last piece. Gazing over at my parts tray, it's empty. So we assume that we've done what we needed to do. We do have a pile of the 4 bearings that were replaced. All the pieces that came off are now back on. Kind of time for the review. See how we did. Okay, let's just take a moment here. Clean up a few of the things on the backdrop. All right, what did we do? We knew that we had a reel that did not have good bearings. They were squeaky. They were running poorly. The reel was not casting far. There was all kinds of issues in performance going on. We showed you how to remove the spool bearings. Those were 1 on each side of the main case, and the 2 that are inside the pressure plate, so 4 in total. 2 of those were the big bearings. Those went on the outside walls of the side plate, or in this case, in the spool side there. Then we had the 2 smaller bearings that run on the axle and control the spool. We took it all apart. We showed you how to do that. Showed you an old school kind of bearing extractor. Those are no longer available. I don't even recall where I got that. I think I may have purchased a toolbox somewhere, and those just happened to be in it at a local flea market or garage sale. At any rate, we did all of that. We showed you how to remove the main gear, how to service that. We showed you how to reassemble the reel, and well, it's time for a test. We're in free spool. Let's make sure we free spool. Oh, look at that. That's a nice quiet operation now. Turns free and easy and effortless. We want to check. You're going to be casting, and then you're going to lever down, and you should be able to drive it. We're not driving yet, which means that we need to do further work with the pre-spool. More you turn in a clockwise direction. Make sure that you have that free spool all the time, and bring it in. Now we're turning. And then lock it down for the max. When you lock it down with the max, a good way to do this is hold that. Make sure that it's holding for you. So I think we have that. Free spool, first strike, max. This reel's got a new life, courtesy of a Bearing Exchange and a service. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I've enjoyed working on this reel and sharing what I know with you. That's the whole idea behind Second Chance Tackle. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I do appreciate your career choice and what you do on a day in, day out to keep us safe and out of harm's way. I want to thank everybody who's been watching. Again, I want to encourage you to subscribe if you have not subscribed already. And if you do subscribe, please use that notification button. That will let you know when I'm posting. And, well, you can see if that's a video that would interest you, if it's something you would like to learn more about. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day. Thanks for watching.